Well, if you were to think of South African restaurants that have made an impact, that have grown, that are going overseas, you'd think of a couple. I mean, you'd obviously think of Nando's, although restaurant. If you were to think of something, and someone that had done something completely different, hadn't been done before, and had come to kind of dominate a market. I mean, I know people who just won't go anywhere else. You would probably immediately think of Tasha's. And I think for a couple of reasons. One is just consistently high quality. Yes, they are expensive. You do pay for it, but that is the price. You get what you pay for. So I think that would be one thing. I think part of it is also that they're the same, but also unique. So I made the point earlier, it's not like going to a Wimpy or a Steers, as much as I love them, where I want the same thing every time. I want my burger in exactly the same way. With Tasha's, you get something slightly different. So how do you do all of that? Well, I suppose the person to ask is the person who found it. Natasha Sideris, the founder and CEO of the Tashas Group, on the line to us tonight. Natasha, good evening. I can't imagine how busy you are at the moment, so thanks so much for the time.
Well, thank you for having me on, and thank you for that amazing intro. And for the record, I also love a Wimpy burger.
I'll make sure to tell them.
Jared,
you kind of grew up in the industry, right? I mean, it was a family thing for you.
Correct. I've been in the game for over 30 years. My dad was a chef and a restaurateur. I swore that I would never get involved in the hospitality business and the restaurant business because he was at hotels and restaurants. Such a tough industry with so many variables and long hours. Went to help him out for a few shifts while I was studying psychology at Wits. Fell in love. And I'm giving you a very summarized story, and here we are today. 45 venues later, and we call them venues because I have 40 restaurants and 5 retail stores, and opening another 16 this year.
Sure, that's a very fast rate of growth. What was it about it? So, I mean, I often, when I go into a restaurant, I am one of those slightly boring people who think, I don't really want to do this. I mean, I don't mean go to it. I mean work in it. What is it? But I have come across people. You're not the first person I've spoken to who just loves it. Is there a thing about it? Is there a satisfaction to it? Maybe.
Yes, I mean, I love people, and that's my first love. And when you're in the restaurant business, you get to work with people at very different levels, whether that's with your staff. Or your customers or investors or your business partners. So A is the love of people. I absolutely love interiors. My brother's an interior designer who's a co-founder in the business, Sava. And my mom was very, very artistic. And so I get to experience all of that every single day, working with the various people, whether it's stylists or interior designers. And then, of course, I'm not switching on my video, but if you saw me, I absolutely love food, a little bit overweight. And I get to work with food every day. So I think, the 3 things that I really love: food, people, interiors. I have the privilege of having that in my daily life. It doesn't come without stress, especially now. We're going through a pretty stressful time in the UAE, in the Middle East. But I wouldn't say it's one thing. It's a number of things. And then that hook is the adrenaline. And I have been blessed enough and lucky enough to have always worked in very busy restaurants. And I think just that adrenaline of being on the floor and being in the kitchen is a big factor.
You did psychology at Wits, and I wanted to ask if that maybe helped you understand one or two of your more difficult customers over the years.
I only did a BA psychology, so 3 years, and I think people still call it a bugger all, and that's not to insult anyone else, but I only did 3 years. I didn't carry on with my studies. I certainly think that studying both sociology and psychology helped. But I mean, I would have loved to have studied further, but the restaurant business has taken over.
So, I mean, you have to make a Tasha's, right? You have to make it different. So the one in Sandton is very different to the one up the road in Hyde Park. You have to have the same quality, but they have to also be slightly different. Isn't that quite a tricky thing to do?
Yeah, well, I think those 2 references are totally different because Hyde Park isn't a Tasha's, it's a Le Parc.
Yeah, sure.
Which is our French brand, and we're opening a couple more of those and even making it more distinctly French. But definitely the Tasha's are unique. And there's a reason. They've got a signature menu which anchors the brand. It's the golden thread that holds it together, and you can go and get your favorites off that classic menu. But we thought it's really important not to have a cookie cutter model of the franchise. And we've even done that in Dubai from a look point of view, and having this menu that we called an inspired menu, inspired by the suburbs, inspired by the business centers, inspired by Spain, inspired by Greece. Because I think a brand like ours needs a level of finesse and a level of, and I hate using this word because it's so contrived, but a level of bespokeness,
Yeah.
where it does feel different, and especially when you've got them in relatively close proximity. So we've got Tasha's Nelson Mandela, we've just renovated, got Alex X up the road, iconic location, and then we've got Rosebank. You got to make sure they're all a little bit different so that customers don't get bored. And of
Yeah.
course, your franchisees can own their identity,
Yeah. And we get bored easily. Um, so,
especially these days
yes.
with social media.
So,
Yeah.
so I mean, I was interested in the menu because it's diverse. I mean, you're not going to run a restaurant like that. That's not going to appeal to most people. But it's not too diverse. And obviously, the bigger your menu, the more expensive things are. And I wondered how you go about devising the menu. You also have to refresh it from time to time. I mean, yes, I'm
Yes.
sure your first one did omelets for breakfast, and the ones you have now do omelets for breakfast too. But things do
Funnily
need to
enough,
change.
funnily enough, we've had the same sections on the menu since day one. And that menu was a culmination of a menu committee made up of my two very best friends who are now our business partners in an amazing branding agency called AM Studio. And we sat as a menu committee together with my brother and decided, went through magazines. Those days there was no social media, no Instagram, and put together this unbelievable menu with putting a twist on stuff that we liked, all my travels, all family dishes. And pretty much that menu has still remained intact. And every time I try and change it, I'll either get an email from someone who says, you left South Africa and abandoned us, and you took the chicken pot pie off the menu. How dare you? Or we can't move those favorites, but we do innovate, as you say. And our place where our culinary director can be especially creative together with myself is on these inspired by menus where we can push boundaries, look at trends. The beverage director can push the envelope with drinks. And I think that's really important for a brand because we are 20 years old. And you can't become a dinosaur and just say, well, I'm only doing what I did in the
Mm.
past. And with social media, the speed with which you have to change has become more and more pressurized, and being in inverted commas on trend, and
Yeah.
making sure you're keeping up with the times is important, but also not buckling to every trend is equally important because I think remaining classic, and rooted in what you do and confident in what you do will then give the customer confidence. But not an easy task. And we got 14 brands. I think I'm going to have to count now, but close to 30 Tashas, each with their own inspired by menu, ranging from between 12 and 16 items. It's a mammoth task, but I got a really big team and a very talented team. So
Yeah. I mean, people who cook professionally, and let me just be very clear on this. I think you get a chef's hat. I can't remember what the proper name is. When you can sort of do all 200 ways there are to cook an egg, and I'm 197 ways away from that. So that's how bad my cooking is. But people who cook professionally tell me that one of the most important things, if not the most important thing, is the ingredients, the quality of the ingredients. And when you started, was it easy, difficult to get the quality of the ingredients that you needed and that you needed so consistently?
I think we're blessed in South Africa and in the UAE. South Africa, because we've got amazing farmers and producers, and you can get incredible cheeses, fresh produce, meat. So no, it wasn't a struggle at all. And in the UAE, whatever you want, your whatever your wish is, you can have it in terms
Mm.
of ingredients. And we have been maniacal about ingredients since the beginning, and I'm becoming more and more maniacal in my old age. We've got committees where we check ingredients all the time, and those people who win chef's hats and Michelin awards are absolutely correct. It all starts with ingredients. If you don't have a good ingredient, you're not going to make a great dish. You can't disguise cheap ingredients, and you can't fool people.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
you have to
they,
start with the best.
they're going to know. I mean, you talk about social media, and I think on one level, I remember speaking to someone who started a gym business, and the way she did it, it's a sort of in home gym business. She'll come to you and take you through it. And what she did as a student was actually put flyers under people's windscreen wipers at university and in offices. That's how she started. Then social media took over. I would imagine for the restaurant business, for you, there are lots of opportunities to market using social media to stay sort of on trend, people taking pictures of you, and your restaurants lend themselves to that. There's also, and we've seen this happen so many times, you can get on the wrong side of social media for something you didn't even do, had no control over, and that can be almost impossible.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I'm not a big fan of social media. I don't have my own social media accounts and Facebook. I don't even know how Facebook works, but I do understand that it is a necessary tool. And I say the word tool because when Instagram first started, first of all, I resisted it. And our brand director, Tessa Graham, was like, you have to go on. You can't get left behind. I was like, oh, if we have to, we have to. But those days, I think it was about 15 years ago when Instagram first came out, you could just post a nice picture and it wasn't as competitive. Now social media has become a business tool and it requires, a certain level of expertise to really use that tool in a meaningful way, to get more clients, to drive feet through the door, to drive home a message. Thank God I've got other people who do that for us. I don't love it. I deleted Instagram for 4 years, had my birthday last year, went back on to get some ideas, and now I can't get off. So it just shows you how addictive it is. A fantastic place to get inspiration and ideas from. But at the same time, I feel there's a risk of the world becoming totally homogenized because
Yeah.
in my days, I would pick up a book or I'd think of my granny's recipe, or my brother would say, do you remember mommy used to cook us this? And then we'd like huddle together and make something. Now you're just scrolling and yeah, ideas are easy to get and find and also easy for people to copy
I'd never thought of
because
that
it's all
actually.
out there.
Yeah, that it makes
It's all
us
out
all the
there.
same
It
rather than
does
different.
create a level of homogenization. And that's why I say, holding on to your identity is really important.
Natasha Sideris is your shapeshifter tonight, founder and CEO of the Tashas Group. Natasha, I remember, I don't know why I have this memory, but I remember during lockdown, you were obviously hugely affected by it. And
Yeah.
if I recall, in fact, you were speaking publicly about how difficult it was. And I mean, this is a terrible sort of thing to raise, but I wondered if you ever, during that time, thought, actually, you may not survive this or have to start again or something.
Absolutely. And that was my first thought. And I remember, I gave everyone 4 days to catch their breath, including myself, and then just rallied the team to say, what are we going to do and how are we going to pivot? I think quite different to what we're going through now, but absolutely. I mean, you're staring into the abyss and thinking, wow, I've spent the last 20 years building this business with blood, sweat, and tears. Everyone's put their whole livelihood into it, and they're such a strong work ethic in our company, which I'm so grateful for. And then all of a sudden, overnight or in a couple of months, you can lose it. Although I'm very, very optimistic about the UAE, and I hope you can hear the smile through the radio. I'm blessed to have been born in South Africa, and that's where my resilience and my grit comes from. I'm Greek by heritage, so soulful and all of that ancient culture. And then I've been living in Dubai for the last 10 years, and I'm so proud of. And I almost want to bring myself to tears, or I'm about to tear up. Sorry. I feel very patriotic towards the UAE. I think they have done an incredible job in
Yeah.
protecting us and we're still able to trade, even though not at full speed. But wow, what a government, what a place, and I feel privileged to be a resident of the UAE.
It must be quite an experience to be there now, to be sort of thinking about everything that's going on, to not know what the future necessarily holds. I mean, I don't want to push you on this, but are customers still going out? I mean, are there other things that people are
So
doing?
yeah, I unluckily enough am not actually in the
Yeah.
UAE. I had knee surgery, and I'm not allowed to travel until sometime in April, and then I'm going to make my way back to the team there. But I'm on the line with them every single day. People are still going out. Turnovers have been affected. We'll wait to see what happens after Eid tomorrow. But yeah, of course, turnovers have been affected. People are, I wouldn't say they're frightened, but I mean, not easy to be in an environment where you don't know what's going to happen day to day. But the government's doing an unbelievable job at protecting. I don't know any other country who'd have so many missiles and so many drones
Yeah.
coming in on a daily basis and have almost no casualties. So, I do sound like I'm being overly patriotic, and I'm going to say, no, I'm not getting paid. No one called me from the UAE and said, you better say X, Y, and Z. I love Dubai. I love the UAE, and I love what they stand for.
Sure. So interesting.
Yeah.
So I mean, you got your outlets in the UAE. You've also got, I think, one in the UK. Now it's a huge market. It's also got a very sophisticated, or it used to have at least, I suppose, before Brexit, a very sophisticated restaurant scene. What do you think the prospects are there? Because I think they're a bit snobbish. You know what I mean? They're a bit snooty sometimes.
So I think we've satisfied the guests' need. We hell of a busy. You'll know that I'm a straight shooter and I don't hide away from any interview. Very difficult to make money in the UK. And if we could make more margin, we would have already expanded. We've only got the one. It's great for us. We serve hundreds of people a day. Got an amazing team there. But is it a viable business model? Does it still have that snobby restaurant scene? It does, but I think it's become more and more difficult for restaurateurs to make money. Certainly for us, if there was a food group who wanted to get involved with us and knew how to scale with making money in the UAE, I mean, in the UK, we would do it with them, but not alone. It's a brutal trading environment. Not easy to control food costs. When I say not easy to control, if you're not part of a group, very difficult to get good buying. Labor is very difficult. The taxes, I can go on and on and on. And probably was the hardest opening of my entire life. I think my brother and I have still got PTSD. Thank God the shop's smooth sailing now, doing well in terms of turnover, but very little bottom line. And almost not worth the effort, to be honest.
Sure.
And I wish that the government would see what they are doing to the hospitality industry, because it's such an incredible, to your point, such an incredible hospitality industry. And you say snobbish, but now they've got everything and anything that you can think of, from trendy to mass to high end, and they're not doing the restaurant business and the fast food business a service. And lots of people are just closing.
Yeah.
Hard, difficult, brutal trading environment.
Sure. I mean, so many people, so many South African businesses that have operations in the UK, I think, are looking at very limited growth prospects because of the situation there. Natasha, you at one point, so you were a student, you grew up in the trade, you at one point, actually, I did think worked for one of the big restaurant companies, and you took a decision to go out on your own. You started one in Athol Square. You would have started another and another and another. You would have taken the decision to go to the UAE. Was there any particular step along the road? I mean, obviously not the pandemic, but any particular step that you thought, sure, now we've really made it, or one that was maybe, apart from Britain, like just the hardest thing? I mean, it's quite an experience you've had.
So on a positive experience, when I knew that we had something really amazing, one of the milestones was, of course, doing the deal with Famous Brands.
Yeah.
Another milestone was buying the business back from Famous Brands, and then opening in the UAE and thinking, oh my God, is this going to work? Like day 3, we hardly had any customers, and on day 4, we just got totally slammed. And we've got an unbelievable partner there, Mubarak bin Fahad, and we've opened lots of restaurants with him. So I'm franchisor and franchisee, and I think, knowing that we had a product from South Africa, I'm going to get slammed if I say product like the McDonald's guy. Knowing that we had a restaurant or a brand that we could go overseas with, and that people would love it as much as they do in South Africa. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And I don't pat myself on the back enough. I think when I do these interviews, I always look back and think, actually, sure, we've done pretty well. But yeah, I would say those are key milestones. And now, when this is all over and the war will end and the UAE will thrive again, this will be another one of those things where we say, we got through it.
Yeah. It's an amazing story, Natasha. I
Thank you.
really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us. I know there's a sort of a lot going on and it can't be easy and you sort of wonder the future. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Thank you. And if I could, I just want to thank every single person in South Africa for supporting us. Well, those of you that are Tasha's and Le Parc and now Cafe Sophie and Arlequino and Tasha's Home, just an incredible support. And South Africans came out in the droves to support us when we opened in the UK. And if there's any listeners from the UAE and Saudi, again, thank you for the support. Without the customers and our staff, we really are nothing. So today, as I sit here, as hard as it is, I count myself extremely, extremely blessed.
Natasha, thank you. Natasha Sideris, the founder and CEO of the Tashas Group.